Hey, it's me, Nalthazar, and welcome to another Magic the Gathering Puzzle Quest video. In this one, I'm going to be taking a look at the brand new Planeswalker that just entered the vault, Teferi, Master of Time. Now, Teferi, Master of Time is one of the two Planeswalkers from M21 that I am most excited for. So I'm really glad that Teferi was the first Planeswalker to drop here on day one of the release. Now, I want to thank Octagon really quickly for sending me this Planeswalker so I could make this video, so thank you guys. I very much appreciate it. Now, Teferi, Master of Time is a very unique Planeswalker. We haven't actually seen anything quite like him because of his third ability in this game. Now, Teferi's mana bonuses at level 60 are going to be +4 to white and blue, +3 to black, and -1 to both red and green. His three abilities are Winds of Fate. Winds of Fate is going to discard the last card without mana from your hand, then draw 3 cards. Create a Winds of Fate token. That token is going to have prowess, so when you cast your first non-creature card, or not your first, whenever you cast a non-creature card, the prowess will trigger and your first creature will get +1/+1 in flying until end of turn. The second ability, Anticipation, is going to trigger whenever you cast a card during your opponent's turn, and that's going to drain 2 mana from the first card in your opponent's hand. I actually like that this ability, now that I've gotten to play with it a bit, is going to draw you 3 cards for just your first ability. I know that you have to discard a card, but it's still actually pretty decent. The second ability, Timeless Image, is going to cost you 12 loyalty at level 60, and is going to disable target creature until the beginning of your next turn. If it's an opposing creature, create a copy of it on the battlefield under your control. Otherwise, you reinforce it. So if you disable your opponent's creature, you get a copy of it. If you disable your own creature, you reinforce it. And then the third ability, Master of Time, is really what makes Teferi, Master of Time, unique. So you create a Master of Time token and draw 3 cards. That Master of Time token, though, is pretty wacky. It says that when you make your first match during your turn, gain 2 extra swaps. Now, this is really sweet because if you activate this on, it becomes your turn, you activate this, you make your match, and this immediately triggers giving you 2 extra swaps. It also has Resourceful 2, so when you draw your second and third card in a turn, the first non-creature card in your hand gains 2 mana. So Teferi, Master of Time, is fantastic with Prowess decks. So Prowess is a new mechanic that just came out in M21. And Teferi makes excellent work of that mechanic because with all the extra matches, you're able to play a whole bunch of different cards. And in playing all those cards, you're going to be able to trigger your Prowess a great many times. Teferi also benefits from having a bunch of card draw because you're having so many matches at your disposal that it's nice to be able to draw and replenish your hand as you're playing things out. Now, the one thing that I have to say about Teferi that can make him a little bit harder to play around is just that none of his abilities scream power, right? So even Master of Time, it's a very good ability, but you need to have good cards for Master of Time to actually be good. Because when you're getting extra matches, it's basically just making it so that you can play more and more and more cards from your own deck. And so getting to play more and more cards from your own deck is going to be only as strong as the cards in your deck are. So Teferi, Master of Time, has a very, very high ceiling, a ton of potential for power, but you definitely need to have some good cards in your deck to make Teferi of Master of Time shine. Now, the last thing that I want to say about Teferi before we move into the gameplay section is that I absolutely love Teferi for events. Now, I know I haven't really gotten a chance to play in the new event yet, nor have I really gotten a chance to play in any Coalition events or major PvP events since Teferi has come out, but the third ability, giving you those 2 extra swaps, is just going to make it so that you have the opportunity to play more and more cards from your hand, which means that this Teferi is going to be amazing for completing objectives in events because you make a match, you do your thing, you play some cards, hopefully that's going to get you closer to whatever your objective for the event is, and then you've still got 2 extra swaps. Now, I know that Stitch in Time is going to be moving out of Standard very soon, but nonetheless, as long as that thing's in Standard, you can get some crazy swaps going. I've had this Teferi giving me I want to say 10 extra swaps in a turn. It was bonkers. It was really bonkers. So definitely a very good Planeswalker. I actually, for the gameplay for today, I made my own version of what I think the master deck for Teferi should look like. So it's going to be comprised of mostly M21 cards. I had a pretty good windfall on the first day of cards, so I have all but 2 of the mythics now, and I'm missing just a few of the masterpieces. So I was able to really make a complete M21 Teferi deck with a few other pieces that I think make him a little bit stronger. So let's go ahead, jump straight into that gameplay, and see how it goes. Alrighty, so for the gameplay, I have the face cam off. That's just so that you guys can see Teferi and his abilities and all of that over here on the side, on the one side, and then on the other side, you can see the deck that I'm using. So I'm up against an Ashiok. Ashiok is a very powerful Planeswalker, definitely something you want to be careful of. The deck is centered around the Stormwing entity that is currently in my hand, and I'm using Whirlwind of Thought as a way to try to get to Teferi's 3rd ability a little bit quicker. You'll see that I've got things like See the Truth, Talent of the Telepath, and Experimental Overload. Those are all just to give me a bunch of extra cards with mana, and then to be able to just play tons and tons of spells, like basically just as much as possible. Because the more spells that we play, the better that we're going to be making the power of our beautiful, wondrous Stormwing entity. Furthermore, it's also going to get us to our 3rd ability really quickly, and so you'll see that we're already at our 3rd ability. Sadly, this actually confused me a little bit, but Frantic Inventory cannot cast unless you have room for the cards that you would draw from it, which is definitely disappointing. I was really hoping that this would be a stronger card, but having that limitation isn't in the text of the card, so I'm wondering if maybe that's a bug or something. So you'll see that as I exile the card, the Frantic Inventory becomes castable in my hand. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to play both of the Frantic Inventories. Interestingly, the second one is still frozen, and then now it lets me play and draw 2 and gain 2 mana to each of them. The Stormwing entity can now cast for free, and you'll see that I spent no mana casting it. Because Teferi's ultimate is out, we've already got 4 extra swaps, and we've been doing stuff. Like, guys, this is crazy, dude. Like, this is super crazy. Just that you get so many matches with Teferi. It's just like you're playing against yourself, almost, in a way, because you can just play so many things. So not only that, but the Stormwing entity, if you have it and you choose to get Teferi, the Stormwing entity has prowess, so it's going to be buffing up. You're going to see that I'm running more than just the entity for prowess, but that prowess can really make this deck and this Planeswalker very scary. So we've got the Shipwreck Merfolk here, so we're just getting more and more extra swaps, and then, so we're still at 3. The Merfolk is going to, the Shipwreck Dowser, I should say, is going to be able to get us spells back from our graveyard, and it's going to give them mana. So this is going to definitely let us do some other really cool, nifty things. I did want to get a Castle Vantress down, though, just to have a little bit more blue gem conversion and card draw. And so now I get to play the Shipwreck Dowser. I get to pull a spell back from my graveyard. So naturally, the best choice here is going to be Stitch in Time, because Whirlwind of Thought is going to be drawing us cards. So we're a little bit away from being able to use our 3rd ability again. I kind of wanted to use it to draw the 3 cards, and so in this moment, I actually forgot that Winds of Fate also draws me 3 cards, which means that I totally should have done that there and gained the extra prowess bonus so that my Stormwing entity would get prowess 2 times for casting spells. That would have been the optimal play there. So I'm just checking out the Vantress for the activate triggers to draw cards. I'm looking through what I drew for that turn. Remember, I want to get these Stormwing entities in my hand down for free. So the Sublime Epiphany is not needed. We can go ahead and toss that out of the way. We're going to be drawing cards to the Castle Vantress. We've got Seek the Truth. We're going to pull another Seek the Truth from the deck just because that's going to be another spell with mana that we can do more crazy stuff. And you'll see that Stormwing Entity is already getting pretty big. For that matter, the whole deck is able to get pretty big pretty fast just because we're playing so many spells, because we have so many swaps, and Teferi's mana bonuses are quite solid. So here we're going to definitely pull the next Stormwing Entity. The more Stormwing Entities we get, the better, because, I mean, this thing is crazy strong. So I mentioned at the beginning of the video that for Teferi, you're going to want to have some kind of strong card as your win condition. And so the one that I'm using here, and my favorite one, is definitely the Stormwing Entity. It makes such quick work of your opponents. So you'll see that it's already boosted to 50 power here. We're going to be able to cast another one from our hand after we use this See the Truth. Because of Whirlwind of Thought, we're already at our third ability. There are just so many cards that are currently in Standard that all play into Teferi's abilities so well that Teferi is an incredibly powerful planeswalker. Even though Teferi is just a monocolor walker, you'll see that just having all the extra swaps because of his ability enables me to do such absurdly crazy things that Ashiok is going to die on their next turn. So this is going to be the end of Ashiok. We've got our entity at 65 power. I could actually go ahead and cast another one, but I figured I'll end the match, not get any crashes, not have to worry about that, and call it good. So I'm going to go ahead, make my final matches to end this match, and then get into my analysis of Teferi. So this brings us to the end of our video. So what are my final thoughts on Teferi Master of Time? Teferi is an absolute beast and powerhouse. I'm going to initially put Teferi in the A tier, with the possibility that Teferi is an S tier planeswalker. I just need to test him out in events and not just in the training grounds and the story. But as I have a fairly extensive collection, I'm able to make Teferi an incredibly powerful planeswalker, both in Standard and in Legacy. Granted, his best place is definitely in Standard, because in Legacy you're probably going to want to be using something like Brokon, or Tamio, or Narset, or Karn, just one of the 3-color walkers, a Bolas. But Teferi is absolutely a force to be reckoned with. Master of Time is an incredible ability, regardless of what level you are. So, I mean, if we take a look at Master of Time at level 1, for example, right? So at level 1, Teferi still has actually fairly decent mana gains at +2, +2, +1. And then also the Master of Time token itself is still giving you bonus swaps every single turn. It only has 3 shields. It doesn't give you the card draw, but the first match that you make is going to give you an extra swap anyways. So that means that at level 16, Teferi is already a very strong planeswalker. So even if you can't fully level Teferi up, if you don't have a lot of runes, you'll still be able to make pretty good use out of Teferi. At level 30, if you choose to level Teferi up a little bit more, but you still can't level him up all the way, and you get to Master of Time level 2, it makes it so that you still get that bonus match, but now you get to also draw a card. So the change between level 16 and level 30 is not that significant for Teferi. The mana bonuses don't jump too much, but nonetheless, this is still a fantastic walker, even if you're a low level or you're not able to power him up all the way. So in summation, I think that Teferi is a planeswalker that belongs in everyone's collections, especially as a monocolor planeswalker. He's only going to cost you 295 mana crystals if you choose to buy Teferi for crystals instead of paying for him right now in the vault. If you want to get Teferi a little bit earlier, because it'll take a few weeks, maybe a month, for Teferi to enter the vault, or you just don't mind supporting the game, which is awesome, Teferi is currently in the vault for $25 US, or whatever your currency is. It's going to be an equivalent to $25. So Teferi is absolutely a good planeswalker. He's absolutely worth having. I think he's worth getting. Either you can buy him for money, or you can wait for him to come out for crystals. Either way, I don't think you're going to be disappointed with this planeswalker. So thank you guys so much for tuning into this video, and I'll see you in the next one.